Hi, I'm Jean Nolte, editor at Fons and Porter.
And I'm Colleen Tauke, the sewing specialist at Fons and Porter.
In today's Sew Easy lesson, we're going to teach you how to do invisible machine applique. And this is the block we're working on today. And the first thing we need to do is get our pattern pieces. So we have the patterns out of the magazine, and we're going to do this large leaf pattern. We've taken a piece of paper that's twice as big as the pattern and traced it on one half. And now I'm going to take it over to the iron.
This isn't just any paper though, this is freezer paper. So there's a waxy side to it. We've drawn and traced it to the dry side, the paper side. And when she folds it over, the waxy sides will adhere to each other. That creates a heavier template.
So there you go. It's stuck together. And it's pretty stiff.
Right. And you're going to cut that out. The reason why we're doing it this way is that because all these shapes are going to create over and over again, we want the edges to be accurate and not to get worn. So we've now created a template that we can actually trace around.
Okay, so then we want to make a lot of these pieces. So we trace it a bunch of times, and then we're going to take the one that we've traced, and stack it on another bunch. And we have all of the shiny side down on these. And what we do is staple them together.
By stapling together, we'll be able to cut these without them shifting. If you've ever tried to cut multiple layers of anything at once, inevitably they all shift, and then your shapes are all going to be different. A lot of times with applique, we want things to look consistent.
And you can use up to 7 layers of paper here. So that makes it a lot faster. So once you have that stapled, you cut it out. Now I'm going to take them apart because we're going to only use them one at a time. So I just use a staple remover. Take those staples out of there.
It beats having to cut each one of these leaf templates.
So now you're ready to actually cut fabric.
Put them onto fabric. Now, we talked about the waxy side and the dry side of freezer paper. A lot of times we think, well, the waxy side should go down, but not in this technique. What we're going to do is take a glue stick, and we're going to apply glue to the dry paper side of the template, lay it onto the fabric, waxy side up, and you'll notice in a few seconds what we're going to do. We're going to come in with the scissors, and we're going to leave approximately a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around. You don't need to go back and draw any lines in. Close counts in this one. So when you get done trimming it, it will look like this. Again, the waxy side is up.
So that's the shiny side right here.
Now, in order to start preparing to turn this edge under, we're going to come in and clip the inside curve. And then we're going to go all along the curved edge and make clips up to the paper, but not through the paper. And we're going to do that on the outside curve and on the inside curve. And here we have one partially done. So we're going to slide that one over. You can see here that this is all vented along the edge now, so that when I go to the iron, I will be able to pull it in all the way to the edge of the paper.
Okay, and we're going to use a special iron.
Small iron, Clover iron.
I'm going to take that.
Big irons, big projects, small iron.
Okay, so you just have to hold that down a little bit.
The waxy side of the paper will adhere to the back side of the fabric, holding it in a nice crisp edge along the outside of your applique.
And with this little iron, you're able to hold it and not get your fingers underneath there. So I'm going to go like that. And you do that all the way around the piece until it looks like that.
This, all the edges. And you can see up close that those little vents, those little clips that you made in kind of open up and reduce the bulk, and then you get a nice smooth curve. So we roll it over, it looks like this.
All right, so now you're ready to start making it look like this block.
Now, this is a leaf here. You're going to do the exact same technique on all the pieces within your applique, whether they're circles, scallops, leaves, however many shapes are in your project.
Right. Okay, so you just have a little background piece that you're going to use.
Right. If you were going to make this big applique, it's kind of like layering the decorations on a cake. You start with those things that are at the bottom or in the background and work your way up. So on this one, I layered the very center piece on first, just so it gives me an idea of where everything else will lay in relation to it. Then I laid the leaves on, the stem over the top, the base of the flower over the top of that stem, and then the very end of the tulip there. In order to get them to stay in place, we aren't going to go to glue stick this time. We'll go on to the next little trick. There are lots of different kinds of glues out there, and after reading through many blogs, most of them were saying we need something with a really fine tip, but white glue works great. So the things that we used in kindergarten come back to
So this is just school glue.
Right. So what we're going to do is this is going to be a temporary gluing. It's not going to hold it forever, but the idea is to get the glue to come up very, very slightly, and we're just going to put it along the edge, not on the paper.
You don't even need it everywhere, just here and there. And
just enough to hold it in place. And then we're just going to lay it in place so it holds in place. And then we're going to set up our sewing machine to do the invisible machine applique. Because invisible thread would be impossible to see on camera, we are using red thread. Now, in order for us to set the machine for the right stitch width and length, we need to come in and adjust the width to 1, the stitch length to 1, and the stitch tension to 2. This will enable the top thread to float a little bit more to the bottom and not be visible on the top of your applique. And the other thing is that you want to make sure that you set the needle to drop right off the edge of the fold of the applique, and then it will take a bite into the fabric. And we're doing this with red thread so that you can see how close to the edge we're actually going. This is not a race. You just drop right off the edge back into the applique.
It's a gentle curve, so it works pretty well. Also, that when that needle comes down on the right-hand side, it's just outside the applique piece and onto the background.
Right, and you would continue all the way around.
But take it out and let us see what it looks like.
So that you can see we are right on the edge of the applique. Now, if that was invisible thread, we wouldn't see that bright red. All we would see is this curve.
It would look like this.
As you can see here. It looks like the pieces have been hand-stitched to the background.
And this is totally stitched, and you really can't see it. Even from here, I can hardly see it.
The fun part about doing these, it's kind of like one of those puzzles where you start in one place and see how long you can go before you have to break thread. So sometimes when I'm doing this, the challenge is to come in and stitch around a shape, then jump into another shape and go around it.
So you keep going without ever having to stop.
Exactly. See how far you can go without having to break thread. But make sure that you cover all the edges because that's what's going to keep your applique pieces in place.
So then when you're done, you would then flip this over and cut out about 1/4 inch inside the stitching, and then you pull that paper out of there, and you have a nice soft, this is a little crunchy with the paper in it, but it'll be nice and soft applique block. For more Sew Easy lessons, go to fonsandporter.com.